Moms, are you raising your kids to believe they can create the life of their dreams? Are you living your life that way as well? Living an awakened life means more than just talking about it. Join host Debbie Pekornik on Vibrant, Powerful Moms as she shares practical tips, stories, and interviews with enlightened guests, all geared at helping you create and live an extraordinary life. It's time to stand firmly in your power and model the life you want for your kids to inherit. And it all begins now on Transformation Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Vibrant Powerful Mom Show. I'm your host, Debbie Pekornik, and my mission is to help you create a life you love at work, at home, and at play. Even right now, when it's quite possible that work, home, and play are all the same place. So last week, I had my friend Susan Hoskins come on the show with me, and we chatted about the things that we practice or do to help ourselves to stay vibrant in this very challenging time. And we had so much fun doing it that we thought, you know what, let's just do another show and share more, because there's just so much more that we would have loved to chat with you about as well. So, Susan, welcome back.
Oh, thanks, Debbie. It's great to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you on here with me and to get to have these kind of conversations with you. So, last time we got to talk a little bit about your book, The Way of the One. We didn't get very much into it, but so I want to tell people that if you're looking for something right now that can help you to tune in to yourself, which is really a message that is coming at us from every different direction with what's going on right now with coronavirus. We are clearly being told it's time to go in, to spend time with you, to learn how to love you, to connect with you, to really take a step back and think about what it is you're here for. And I have to tell you that this book, The Way of the One, has all kinds of beautiful tips in it. At the end of every chapter, Susan gives you these key thoughts, and then also she gives you things to ponder. And so I just think there is so much value in that. So know that that is available to you. And I might as well put in a little plug for my book, Standing in Your Power, which really is set up very different from Susan's book, but yet the same kind of idea. It's giving you step-by-step ways to actually start standing in your power. And while that might not seem the same as living the way of the one, there's actually a lot of commonalities. So, Susan, I'm feeling like I actually want to shift gears and go towards Dancing with Angels, which is another one of your books.
Yeah. I would love that.
Yeah. Well, I found Dancing with Angels to be the kind of book that if a person is looking for a way to get out of their head and into their heart, that's the book.
Oh, thanks, Debbie. I love that book. And I love the story behind the book I'd like to share, because so many of us get to a place in our life where we, scream at God and go, why is this happening, God? And that happened to me. I had a very devastating experience in my life, and it completely turned my world upside down, which is rather what's happening now with all of us. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went into meditation and I simply asked the question, why is this happening, God? And I went into meditation for 2 or 3 days and heard nothing. And then all of a sudden, the images that are in the book began to appear, and then the words. And it became the book, Dancing with Angels, which was my answer, why this happened.
Beautiful. And so it came to you as the story, or that's your storytelling trait?
That actually came as a very channeled book. It really did, but it turned out to be my story. So it's written as an allegory where a woman is in a tin plane and crashes into a sea of despair. And she's rescued by her guide, Christopher, and taken on a journey to discover herself.
Yes. And her name happens to be Susan.
Yeah, oh, gosh, that's a coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I love the Sea of Despair. I thought, whoa, what a perfect, um, what should I call it? I want to call it an analogy, but that might not be the right word. It's just such a perfect description of where so many of us get to that place where we are in the Sea of Despair and we cannot see the sun shining through the trees because we're so.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I also loved, and I can't remember exactly how you said it, but she quickly grabbed her backpack.
Mm-hmm. With all her baggage in it, because she couldn't go on this journey on a tin plane without having her backpack, because she always had to carry her baggage with her.
Yes. And I love it how that plays out that, this is all that stuff that doesn't serve us, that doesn't help us, that isn't important. So it really isn't your purse with your lipstick and your cell phone. It really is all the baggage. So I really love that. Now, the reason I brought it up today is because I think that for a lot of people, if you're trying to figure out, okay, what is this? What is the meaning of this? Maybe you have somebody who's really sick with virus and is maybe looking at passing away and you're struggling with that, or maybe your marriage is falling apart and you're stuck at home now with your partner, or maybe your kids are driving you crazy and you really want to love being a mom, but right now you're just not loving it. Or maybe just like Susan in the book, you're kind of feeling almost numbed out to
Mm-hmm.
everything. And you're just looking out thinking, sheesh, how come I don't feel anything? Why is my life so uninspiring? And I really think that this journey that was channeled through Susan is a beautiful way to help you start tuning in.
Oh, thanks, Debbie.
So, well, you're very welcome. So, all right, there's a little piece here I wanted to read. So this is Christopher talking to Susan. So Christopher says, "You asked why this happened. Let me respond. You sensed a tremendous void in your life because you are not fulfilling your divine destiny. You were wasting your energy trying to create a world that felt safe and secure." Let's let that one just soak in there. Safe and secure. You were merely acting out your life, scripted dramas of your own creation, not living it. From the depths of your being, you cried out for purpose and direction. Well, your prayers have been answered, but then in one form or fashion, they always are. So that felt like a piece that people should hear right now. Any comments on that?
Oh, I love that, because I think part of the reason that we are collectively moving through this time together of social isolation is for us to get more in touch with our own purpose in life, that which brings us joy, that which serves our soul's desire to be even a more authentic version of ourselves. Because I believe everybody has a beautiful purpose to fulfill this lifetime. But we get so caught up in what we're supposed to be doing and the acquisition of stuff and things and status that often we lose sight of our really deeper meaning to our life. And I think this time is giving us the opportunity to rediscover that.
Absolutely. And in fact, as you know, I love going in the Akashic Records with my good friend Elizabeth
Mm-hmm.
Losi. And she was actually just on the show just 2 weeks ago, so just before your other show that I did with you. And we had done a channeling together that, well, she does the channeling. Know that I am just sitting there holding space and asking questions. But anyways, she did a channeling, and it's a beautiful introduction to the Akashic Records. If you've never had anything to do with them, go back and listen to that. But what I want to say is, in going through or into the records with Elizabeth, it has become very clear, like the record keepers are clearly saying, this is important. You must take this time to go inwards, to
Mm.
really think about what are the pieces that are truly important to me. Why are those important to me? What is it that I have come here to do in this lifetime? And to do that, you have to let go of that thought that true abundance is, it comes to us in the form of money.
Oh, so right.
Mm.
So right. And that we have to be following the rules for acquiring that money. And instead of looking to this brilliant, abundant universe as our true source.
Yes. Do you know one of the things that really jumped out at me in the Akashic Records was when they were talking about how we have gotten in a place of hoarding and thinking that hoarding is okay. And what they're talking about is exactly what we have been trained makes us responsible and good people: saving money.
Hmm.
Right? And the idea that we have to accumulate and accumulate and accumulate, whether it be money or even stuff or toilet paper or whatever, and not be able to trust that we will have exactly what we need.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things they say is that if a cell hoards, think of the cell in your body, if a cell hoards a bunch of things, the cell would die. And you
Ah.
are, you're disconnecting yourself from your lifeline by trying so hard to hoard all of this stuff, including money.
Oh,
Ah,
I completely agree, because it's really from a sense of lack that we hoard things. I mean, people
yes,
wouldn't be buying shelf loads of toilet paper if they were truly trusting in the abundance of the universe to provide exactly what we need in the moment we need it.
yes,
Instead of thinking we have to do this as ourself, separate entities, and hoard, hoard, hoard so that I have even if you don't.
yes. Now, I feel that I need to tell people, if you've done this, if you've gone and bought, a whole bunch of toilet paper and that, this is not about making you feel bad
Right?
about this at all. I want you to just really recognize that right now your eyes are being opened to the fact that it's not necessary. And so, I mean, now you might turn around and be a savior and go put some toilet paper on some other people's doorsteps, but do it safely if you're going to go out and do that. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm just having a flash of something because of what you said.
Uh-huh.
Think of what we do with toilet paper and what it represents. It's collecting our waste, right?
Yes. Getting rid of
Rid
all
of
that stuff.
exactly. So if you've done that, not only, if you've bought a lot of toilet paper, just smile and know that, oh, good, it's my opportunity to truly clear any waste or negative thinking I've had about not having enough.
Beautiful. Yeah. I love that. Love
Me
it. Love
too.
it. So, you said that you went into meditation for 2 or 3 days. Now, I think meditation is something that is coming up so much and has been for years, okay? And it definitely is an important part of going inwards. And I think it's a part that a lot of people struggle with because they just aren't able to turn their brain off yet.
Right.
So when you say you went into a couple days meditation, I mean, that's pretty impressive. What what can you share about meditation that maybe people haven't heard before that might help them right now?
Right. And when I say I went in for a couple of days, I wasn't sitting there for a couple of days, but I would go into my regularly scheduled time. And, again, I expected my answers to come like Happy Meals do at the drive-through at McDonald's. And I wanted my answer right now. Why is this happening, God? And I expected to hear it. And that's not what happened at all. And so
No.
for me, I realized that my answers are, again, not on demand, even though I always get them exactly when I need that. And what I share with people is I think we have an illusion about how we have to meditate, and it has to be a certain way in order to get inspired or tune in. And again, much like we talked about in our last time together, our guides work with us in the ways that fit us.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love what you do to go get grounded and connected in nature. And that's where, that's a form of meditation. Or when I'm out emptying my brain in a walk, that can be a form of meditation. It's simply disconnecting from the frenzied activities to get quiet, just to get
Yes.
quiet.
Yes, love it. That made me think of one of the things I did way back several years ago. This woman, and I can't remember her name, but she did a 1 minute meditation challenge. And I think it was for 30 days or something. And so every day, I can't remember if she maybe sent out an email. She did something that triggered me, that made me set a timer for 1 minute. And in that time, all I was supposed to do was just try to quiet my mind. I could lie on the
Ah,
floor and quiet my mind. I could sit and quiet my mind. I could do whatever. But for 1 minute, I was just supposed to go for quiet. And what I learned was something that I didn't know before that. And that is that there is a place, some people refer to it as a void, but and it's sort of like I'm trying to look cross-eyed at the spot at the top of the bridge of my nose.
right,
Okay. And I just focused on that spot. And when a thought tried to come, I just pushed myself into that spot again. And I'll be darned if after, I don't know how many days, maybe 20 days of doing this for 1 minute and 1 minute only, I all of a sudden kind of found this spot. I could feel myself go into this space. Now, I can't stay in that space for longer than a few seconds. I get quite
right.
excited. I get in this space and I go, oh, wow, that's quiet. That's beautiful. Oh, now I'm making noise.
Right.
So, but the point being, what it taught me was that space is there, number one. I can access it, number two. And exactly what you said, Susan, I can access it on my own terms.
Beautiful, Debbie, beautiful. And, again, maybe one of the reasons we're all going through this time together is to be able to get in touch, slow things down enough, because we don't have control now over the frenzied activity of our life. uh, we can instead slow it down, be in the moment. And I think by simply being in the moment and taking that quiet time, we can access that place where we truly can find peace and be inspired.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so, in line with this, the second quote that I actually had marked in Dancing with the Angels, again, is Christopher talking to Susan and saying, guidance begins as a gentle whisper or feeling. Sometimes it can turn into a gnawing in the stomach, signaling that something isn't quite right. Sometimes, when I want you to pay attention, you feel my nudge. And I feel like exactly what you were saying, if you can quiet your mind enough to find that peaceful place, it'll be easier to hear the messages coming through for you. But I mean, if you don't, you're going to get them, it might be a gnawing in your stomach. It might be that thing, something just doesn't feel right, or I don't feel like I should be phoning that person or going to that place or doing whatever it is. I feel like now isn't right. That is your intuition speaking. Right?
Oh,
Would you like to add to that?
Oh, I absolutely love that. And again, I think the more, excuse me, the more we can tune into that place in ourself of what we know to be true, what we feel, what we sense, and give that as much power as we give the thoughts in our mind, that's when we can receive and open up to true guidance. And oh yes, of anything we could say, please trust that feeling that tells you to do something or not to do something. It's like a traffic signal.
Mm-hmm.
Green, go forth; yellow, caution; and red, don't do it. I love that.
Yes. Yes. And that makes me think I've done quite a bit of different shows and writing on how to recognize the difference between that beautiful inner wisdom and the inner critic, because sometimes people mistake that voice in their head, and it doesn't have to be a voice, it can be pictures, it can be whatever.
Sure.
Sometimes it just feels like memories, right? But it's that
Right.
voice that is correcting you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Guidance doesn't come in the form of the voice of your mother or father or former boyfriend. It is that, and I find that guidance is loving and kind for the most part, unless it's something that is a divine intervention that has to grab our attention in the moment, not to
Yes.
do something or to save our lives. But normally guidance is very loving and kind and gentle and not critical.
Yes. And one of the big things for me, I'm just thinking of what you said just now about unless, it's divine intervention. But
Yeah.
even still, I would say that whatever comes to you by your inner critic, well, here's what I tell people. If you hear that voice, write it down. If you would give it punctuation, if you would bold it, underline it, if you'd give it a snarky sound, any of the, it is your inner critic. If it just sounds like loving guidance, even if it comes out forcefully,
Right.
then it is your inner wisdom. So your inner wisdom can tell you, you're driving along in your car and your wisdom can go, turn left now.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yes.
so you do it because it's with authority, but you still wouldn't put an exclamation mark. It's not a turn left now kind of thing. And that will be divine intervention. In that moment, there will be a very important reason that you had to turn left right at that moment.
Oh, Debbie, I just love the way you put that. I really love that.
Oh,
And
thank you.
again, after the Hyatt Hotel disaster, when I researched this very topic and interviewed people who received their divine intervention that saved their lives, it always came in a form that they would recognize and act on.
Mm,
So yes, that is how divine intervention comes through. Right.
yes. And
Yes.
that's even true when you look up at a billboard and you see words on a billboard that in that instant they're meant for you.
Oh, absolutely. And
That's sorry.
I was just thinking, thank you. I was just thinking that also guidance can come in the form of silence. And let me share what I mean. I received a job offer. And I really didn't think I wanted to take it because the other place I had a temporary contract with was trying to create a job for me. And I thought, well, that's going to be a much better job. So it was like, okay, Spirit, give me a sign if I'm, give me a sign to take it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a sign not to take it is really what I was saying. And all that day, there was no sign. Everywhere I turned, I was getting the information to take it. So sometimes it's really funny how spirit acts.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I mean, that has come up even in songs, right? Like sometimes no answer is the answer to your prayer.
Exactly.
Kind of
Oh,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, that brings up, we've only got like 4 minutes left, but that brings up the idea, the whole praying thing. Can you just speak for a moment about the difference between praying to a God outside of you versus actually praying, setting intention?
Oh, I'd love to. Well, heart centered intention comes from that very sacred place in your heart when something comes forward, much like the guidance we're talking about something you are meant to be or do, and it just grabs hold of you. Riding the Way of the One was an example for me. And so I set a very careful, heart centered intention, intending that I would write that book and that everyone and everything I needed would be provided to be able to do that. And I trusted that it would come forth from my beloved guides and angels in the universe in a beautiful way. So it wasn't that I kneeled down and prayed to a distant God, dear God, please do this for me. It was rather, I trust that what's coming through me is what I'm meant to do, and therefore I'm going to acknowledge it as sacred and intend it and ask for and intend everything I need to be able to accomplish it because it is coming from spirit. And that's how I view prayer now. I don't
Mm,
pray to a being outside of myself for favor or special things because we are all part of the divine essence known as God.
Right.
So I don't need to pray to my right hand for something for my left foot. I mean, that makes no sense. So instead, I just acknowledge our sacred intentions and say, yes, Spirit, I say yes to this. And I
Nice.
know I will have everything I need to do this.
Yes. Yes. And in line with that is that whole thinking that I guess it's that sense that we can blame, if God doesn't answer our prayer, that it's somehow God's fault, that God has turned its back on us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, is that by the way, many of us were raised to see God as this distant, judgmental, patriarchic figure
Mm-hmm.
that would punish us if we were bad, and that we had to beseech for things we wanted. Yeah, many people do think I did something wrong if I get sick, or if I lose my job, or God doesn't love me enough. And that's
Mm-hmm.
just not the truth. It's what our soul has come here to experience.
Right. And so if you're feeling that way, that God wouldn't do this to me, or that God doesn't love me enough, that is a signal to you to start loving yourself as much as you feel God should love you, because that's the same
That's God.
thing.
That's
That is
right.
God, exactly. And you can call it whatever you want. We're not saying that God is the way to go here. We are saying that creator, that sense of oneness, all of that spiritual energy, we are all one. And it is just so amazing when you really tune in to that field.
Oh, so true. I love that.
Mm-hmm. So let me remind people that you can find out more about Susan by going to thewayoftheone.org. Do check out her podcast, which is A Voice from the Heart. Her books, we didn't talk about Molly's Rocker, but Molly's Rocker is an incredible story. It's a story about her grandma-in-law.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
My husband's grandmother, right?
Yes.
Right.
And it is very moving and a wonderful way to remind you that life can be super tough. And even when it's super tough, there are beautiful pieces that you can focus on. And it was a very moving story. I really, really enjoyed it. The other book was Dancing with Angels. And then, of course, there is The Way of the One. Susan, thank you so much for coming on with me and making these shows go by in like 2 seconds. I appreciate you so much. I'm so happy to have you in my life.
Oh, thank you, Debbie. I loved every minute of it.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care, my friend. And to you, my listeners, take very good care of yourself. Go inwards. Love yourself. You are worth it. And you have everything you need right now to handle whatever life throws your way. So with much respect for you and the journey you are on, this is Debbie Pokornik and her wonderful friend and guest, Susan Hoskins, wishing you a vibrant and powerful day.
You've been listening to Vibrant, Powerful Moms with host Debbie Pokornik. If you've enjoyed this show, please share it with others to help spread the love. To find out more about Debbie, pick up free offers from the show, and listen to previous episodes, visit vibrantpowerfulmoms.com.
Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.